Good morning. Up until now, I have to apologize that I didn't understand a single word of what was spoken because I don't speak your language, so I apologize if I move into a different way. Second thing I'd like to start with is I like to be confrontational. So it's probably that I'm going to challenge some people and certainly going to challenge the big HR providers that might be in the room. And the third thing is I like interaction. I don't want to be talking all the time. If you don't agree, if you have a question or an opinion, just voice it. What I'll try to do is I'll try to explain to you the rise of the career owner in three large stages. One, what is a career owner? Why did we come up with the term? B, how or why did this arise? Where did this come from? And the third part is how can you deal with it? How, as an HR professional, could you potentially deal with that? Let's see if this works. For me, the journey started with these two guys that I saw the first time in 2000. They wrote a book that some line said, communism won, because the power is given to the individual. The internet has given the power to the individual. That stuck in my mind in 2000. It's never left. Somebody else said the same thing. Completely different guys. These are, by the way, two professors in Stockholm School of Economics. The same stuck in my mind when I read a book by Bill Gates, 1999, and he said more or less the same thing. If you're on the internet and you don't add value between point A and point B, the internet will kick you out at some stage of that process. My reasoning is that HR is in the middle of this nearly perfect storm at this moment. Over the last 9 months, I've been traveling, seeing all kinds of HR events, went to the US, went to France, went to Paris, saw them all. But every time I came up with the same conclusion. It's corporate execs, salespeople talking about HR processes and about HR tools, large, expensive tools that don't necessarily give a solution. I'm not going to give any names, but take the big four. Everybody knows, if you start to work with it, that in the end it doesn't work. Give you a little example. Newspaper last week, Belgium, the #1 HR is suing the #1 brewery in the world for $600 million of third-line license fees not paid. But still they have to work together. How do you do this? How does this work? I'm missing the people in there. I'm missing people who are actually in those systems. I mean, think of it. How many of your employees actually have access to your HR systems? How many people know what's about them in your systems? They know what's happening in the world when they use this. They know it right away, but they have no access in your system. The employee candidate, in my opinion, has moved to a career owner. My colleague just gave me an interesting quote this morning. Large temp agency just took over a quote. Hiring is becoming more and more behavior of the consumers. Just think on that. Everybody you're seeing, everybody you're employing is a consumer before they start to work and when they go at home at night. That's what we like to think. They're not. They're a consumer 24 hours a day, also on the job. And that's how they will behave as consumers. So, that's the first time you're going to see him. You're going to see him another time. It is still HR, but something changed in HR. Think back to 2000. I'm in what you would call, in the past, I used to be in assessment business. And yesterday I tried to formulate it, and I think I'm now in the optimizing performance business. No longer in the assessment business. I still assess, but that's just a tool. I'm trying to figure out how people, organizations, can together deliver results that, if I listen well, that you're not finding enough people for anymore. So that's the business I'm in. But why has it changed? When I think back to 2000, I was with a large international HR consultancy. We had 2 years of interactive discussions how assessments should go from paper and pen to computers. Everybody was arguing that the computer would change the outcome of the result. Today, we've passed from computers to mobile assessments. I didn't hear a single argument. That's only 15 years ago. In 2000, everybody was working with print. Then came the internet. Do you know how many business models of HR consultants went down the drain? I was selling assessments at 2,500 euros. Now you're selling assessments at 500 euros. So the HR world has changed completely. What I'll try to do is I'll take you to 3 steps that change that. Step 1, 2005, 2013. Everybody was looking at the white smoke. Now they're looking at their TV screens. So what does that mean? It means that we moved from resources to relationships. These people are using those devices, and I hate, by the way, this millennial pictures. It's not just them. I use on this thing 9 or 10 different methods of communication. WhatsApp, Viber, mail, Google Mail, 10 email addresses, text message, anything that works. Why? Because we want to entertain that relationship. So those are the people at all ages that organizations have to deal with and find solutions for. The first thing that happened is we moved into an age of information. See, in the past, if you wanted to find something out, you had what? The Indians had smoke. In Africa, we had tam-tam. And we used newspapers, and we used pigeons, and we used couriers. Now we have the internet. Anybody, any idea, and now one corporation. Anybody, any idea what that is? Any answer is a good answer. There's a bit of iron in it. It's gunpowder. It took us 800 years to get it from China to Europe. Okay? 800 years. I know it's not polite, but if this guy farts, we know within 5 seconds. And not because the newspapers tell us, he's telling it us ourselves. So we're moving into an age of information. What does that mean? If your consumer employee goes to the doctor, he's better informed than the doctor, because he knows what is happening. Age of information is interesting, but it's also challenging. Following example, large Belgian bank needs to let go 4,000 people. Found a great solution. You know what? Everybody at the age of 52, we will leave them at home and we will pay their full salary until their pension. We will pay that, not the government, we will pay that. Try to be a big bank in Holland or in Germany and having to fire 3,000 people. What's going to happen? They will know the same thing happened in Belgium. Information is all around. As HR, or at any position, we can no longer afford ourselves not to think that what we discussed today isn't being second-guessed within the second. And they do it. I remember a young guy coming for a job and said, I don't want to work for this company. Why not? And they just fired 400 people in this region, in this country. That's not the kind of company I want to work for. How do you deal with that? That information is out there. Quick stop. Anybody know what this is? Yeah, you probably do. I used to work with that old I am. It's a telex. I once had somebody working for the organization I did HR for. We lost a guy between Baghdad and Damascus. He was gone. Turned out he was in prison. He'd done a trick with false dollars. But it took us 3 weeks to find out where he was, and it took us 6 months to translate what happened. Today, I know within a second, and Google will translate that Arabic document from the police station in about 5 seconds. So what has changed? What has changed is that before you had time, now you don't have time. You need to react immediately, because that's what they expect. Second part, knowledge is no longer a differentiator. In the past, you had the top of the pyramid, and the pharaoh he knew everything. He could decide everything. Today, we don't call them servants and slaves anymore. I mean, it's not polite. But they know everything because they use the same machine as we do. They have the same information at the same time. Has none of you ever experienced the moment where you have to let somebody go, and then you find out that you're asking yourself the question, is he or she taping that interview? Are they recording this on this machine? I can tell you they are. So the internet, the information is everywhere. So the question is, how do we deal with it? The second part, or the third part, is the age of self. Everybody knows her, I think. You didn't know Gunpowder, but I think half of the room knows Kim Kardashian, okay? Any idea how many followers she has? Many, yeah, but that's nice. 5 is also many. How many? 10 million? More? Half a billion. She has 100 million visitors or followers. Question, what has she ever achieved? Nothing. But everybody wants to know what she's doing. So we are in an age where, because we can, we are exchanging that information. And if you think of it, just use that thought when you go home tonight. This is playing a role. Maslow's pyramid is playing a role. And this is how these people, I'm not saying young, everybody, is interacting with organizations. Okay, so those are the 3 conditions that made this career owner moment arise. So we're back here. It's still HR, but not as we know it. It's changing completely. I was talking to somebody last week, a very interesting guy, Professor Kevin Wheeler from the US, and he said, a job is an artificial concept. And he's right. Because think back, when did HR start? HR started in somewhere around the same age as Henry Ford started to invent a car and started mass production. And then we needed HR to organize all these processes and security and safety. We got rules and regulations, we made sure that people didn't get hurt, and then the next phase was we didn't want employers to pay the salaries in the bar or in the store from the company. So we started to regulate things. And somewhere we've missed this moment from being a regulator to becoming a facilitator. I don't know if the same thing happens in Czech Republic as happens in Belgium, but I've witnessed numerous HR managers complaining, I want to get into the board. We need to be in the board because HR is strategic. We have to be in the board. Here's your opportunity. But it means you have to change the way you work. This is a study by Deloitte. It's one of the slides. In this digital age, from all the people interviewed, only 4% found that HR is leading the effort. 65% tell them that HR is minimally involved. I didn't invent this. This is a study done by Deloitte by a large global audience. I'm dividing this world in 2 parts. Those who need talent, organizations, companies, and those who have talent, everyone. Everyone has a talent. So how does this interact with each other? We invented the internet and everybody is on there. All these organizations are on there. But that is changing. Look at it as, you probably all heard of the El Nino weather effect. To me, this is like the El Nino weather effect. If something changes in any of these equations, the whole thing changes. If you're a large staffing organization like the top in the world, your biggest problem is that Your talent can get to your company without you. What's your added value? We have lots of offices. We do assessments. We know what people want. This whole thing is changing. And the question is, where is HR in this? A large part of temping business in West European large companies is not done by HR. It's done by procurement. They negotiate contracts. They negotiate pricing and conditions. HR is not even involved. Think back, the talent needed side, the organization side, there are a number of challenges coming their way. This is, by the way, from a study from Boston Consultancy Group. They identified 6 large areas that would affect it. A, the age of automation. Will we have robots or not? You already have robots. You don't know it. I checked into the airport. I didn't speak to a single person. Gave my barcode, got a print, put it on my suitcase, got into the airplane. Nobody talked to me. Nobody checked my passport, by the way. So everything is already robotized. It's just moving up further in the stream. We will have completely new customer strategies. Simple story. Think of this. You know what a Fitbit is? This thing like this. You have one. Great. Be careful with it. Because what happened in the US, some guy thought of the idea that he didn't like his wife. So he did something that's not allowed. He killed her. And he said that his house got burgled and somebody attacked the house and that somebody came into the house and killed his wife. Due to the Fitbit that was uploaded, the police could find out that at the moment he said they were attacked, she was still jogging outside. She had uploaded her Fitbit data on the cloud. They knew exactly where she was on the GPS. The guy was caught lying by means of Fitbit. Business models are changing completely. Fitbit could go into the security business. It's nothing to do with educational. Big data will change. Everything will be complex, but have to be simplistic. The agility is moving in, and I got a signal I need to move. If you look at the other side, and I heard some of the words in the previous speeches, I definitely heard diversity somewhere. I think those are the challenges we have to deal with. Look at the guy at the top. I have a friend who is studying to be an anesthetist. At the same time, he is an avid gamer, and he's setting up a store to sell information on anesthesia over the internet through a store. They are combining multiple careers. If you look towards the future, the skills our people will need are these. Some of them at least are. This is by Larry Kim. We will have completely different skills. And if I might give you a piece of advice, maybe think of it no longer as jobs. I heard you talk that you couldn't find the number of employees that you have to find. What if you cut these jobs into pieces, into skills? And people are performing a certain skill at company A, company B, company C. They're performing that skill, no longer a job. I need to move faster. This is what's happening. Exponential growth is there. Here is where the challenge is for HR. See, technology is moving to the top left extremely fast. People are moving faster than business is moving. Traditionally, HR is moving a little bit slower than the business is moving. What if HR seizes this opportunity and starts to move in there, starts to close that gap and work with people? How do you deal with that? Because it's easier said than done. There are 4 ways. A, reactionary. Just hammer everything down, deny it, it didn't happen. R2, try to regulate it. We're very good at that. Rules, regulations, processes, do it that way. Number 3, readiness. We recycle it, we reuse it, we adapt it, and we think we're going that way. No, no, no. There's a 4th way. That's the revolutionary way. Just join it, completely different way, approach it. The challenge is for HR, how will you react? The challenge is not for HR, but the challenge is for you as a person. How will you react? 4 little examples. We just acquired the rights for a company to assess your face. We will look at your face and will predict your personality. I'm not the only one doing it. There's 5 companies in the world doing it. Facebook is working on it, Google is working on it, everybody's working on it. Olivia, I talked to her in Chicago. She interviewed me for a job. She did the whole process. Restless Bandit just searches in your ATS for the candidates you already have, but you don't know you have that match to your jobs. And Glassdoor does about 38% of the vacancies in the US, not job sites. This is a picture of the Belgian HR tech landscape. 5 years ago, there were 17, 18 companies doing that. We stopped counting last week, 106 companies in HR tech, only in Belgium. I hope you didn't miss that, but Google launched last week Google for Jobs, meaning anybody in HR, anybody looking for a job, I need to stop?
You have to end it.
1 minute. Anybody in HR looking for a job, in 2 years' time, the probability is that you will find your job on Google. That is my advice to you. Change your time, use technology, embrace technology to make free time to use it on people. Don't hide in those processes. Get out of those processes. Leave those to the technicians. Who's using HR tech here? And I'm not talking about SAPs and the cornerstones, but who's using revolutionary HR tech tools to improve the market? Ask yourself that question. What could I do differently? Final one. Keep an open mind. Keep evolving. That was my message on the career runner to you.
Thank you very much, Ben. We have some questions for you. On Slido, we are lost and we don't know how to attract the youngest generation. Your solution? Quickly for 1 minute.
You're partly right. I think we have trouble attracting any generation. The only way to attract people is to start thinking like them, to start acting like them. I was talking to my colleague, you know what struck me in the first presentation? There is no criticism intended to anybody, no images. The young generation is a visual generation. In all the HR presentations I've seen over the last 9 months, images, pictures. Other message from Kevin Wheeler, if you want to understand people, travel. How do you travel to young people? Talk to them. This talk to us is part of a roadshow we try to do, not to talk to HR people. Yes, we like to exchange with HR people. I want to talk to people that are looking for a job, that are working, that have a criticism. I can learn more in a restaurant or in a bar or at a train station than I can learn at an HR meeting. So go and travel to them or get them on board. I love that you had a professor in philosophy in here. I talked to a disruptor officer last week and he said, it's best hire a young graduate in philosophy. Why? She makes me think different. Get those people in your organization.
Thank you very much, Ben. Ben Greeven.